At this point, Facebook or the equivalent,
Yes.
Twitter, Medium, Quora, and Wikipedia are all doing the same function with slightly different requirements on publication. The R&D is over. What we need is for that to be a vehicle for truth instead of profits, which is what people want. In other words, it's now infrastructure. We socialized electricity and water. We haven't yet socialized telco, although we've regulated to the point where it nearly is. Then these things are infrastructure now for the same reason telco and power and water and sewer were. So simply do the same thing we did to them, which is, okay, well, we're looking for truth out of you. And if you can't do that, we'll just create a government method that does it itself. What are you going to do if the government says we're going to produce a monopoly system funded by the state that's a source of truth versus your source of profit? Well, what's going to happen, of course, is those businesses will go away. Everybody will move over to a single source of truth because that's actually what they want. It's amazing to me that there's no equivalent of, and there's a complete resistance to anything simple like a judiciary of news.
It's like if you make news, it is warranted.
Yes, warranted as testifiable within the limits of testimony, realism, naturalism, truth, rational choice, reciprocity, etc. In other words, you're also responsible for due diligence against your own suggestion and obscurantism. So news has to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. There's no reason it isn't like that, because if you're doing it for money, it's a product like any other. So you can produce a fraudulent product, you can produce a semi-fraudulent product, you can produce a truthful product. Doesn't mean you're not going to be wrong. It means that if you followed the criteria for truthful testimony, including warranty of due diligence against externality, then you're going to have really highly paid news journalists who are like the Walter Cronkites, small in number. And you'll pretty much make it impossible for the CNNs, the NBCs, not so much Fox News, but so many other ones to create this propaganda of false promise. It's like you can't testify to the possibility that state socialism or communism would work. It's not logically possible. It's not empirically
Just
possible.
outside the scope of potential testifiability.
You can't testify to it. So you can only testify to the truth and reciprocity of the statement and the objective facts of the statement, which would stop the social construction of false promises that allow the destruction of our institutions of cultural production.
Now, we're generating this cognitive instrumentation to measure, understand, and express all human experiences in a truthful manner.
All truth claims. That's a real important difference, because we still can talk all the trash we want. We can still use idiomatic language, whatever. Mm-hmm. There's a difference when we're making a truth claim in public to the public and matters public. So I distinguish very clearly, and especially if it's for money or advantage, you're advertising or promoting a truth claim. When I'm sitting there and telling you a story about how I got laid in college and I'm dramatizing it, right? Because realistically, it was a lot of work and she wasn't that hot, right? And she was drunk. So was I. And I hardly remember it, and I'm sure it was bad. I'm sure she thought the same.
The facts of the situation may be obscured by the words that are used.
You don't have any reasonable expectation that I'm speaking the truth. And there's no, it's not being made in public to the public. It matters public, which could cause an involuntary transfer.
No advantage, right? It's like,
and since she's anonymous, I'm not even. It's one of those times where you actually get picked up by the woman, and you don't realize it.
Oh, yeah.
You've been, I'm such an idiot. But anyway, the thing is, people say, "Well, I've got to talk this way." No,
right.
It's when I'm speaking in public to the public about matters public could cause an involuntary transfer directly or by externality in order to cause a change in state. In other words, if I'm making a false or fraudulent product, it doesn't mean that we can't shit talk and joke and play games and insult each other and pick on politicians and whatever. It means we can't make a truth claim.
That's right.
Now, one of the problems is the ridicule, gossiping, rallying, shame. You're sort of stuck now with, you can't play the ridicule game with public figures, which is unfortunate because there's so much fun to be had. The public figure may only be the monarch that you can't do that to. We may decide, well, it's a minister of whatever, and he is a dork, and it's just true, right? But you can't attribute to the minister false intent.
That's right. Don't lie about what he's doing.
Or what he's.
And you can make fun of him as long as you're truthful in the way that you're making fun of him. And
right.
He is actually a dork when you say he's a dork. It's like,
yes.
And everybody can see it. There's no contention here. And
right, but you can't claim the guy, you can't claim to read the guy's mind, know his intentions without explaining his incentives. So why don't we just require them to do that? If you understood the incentives of anybody you're making a news report about and explained their incentives and explaining the other incentives, everything would appear completely adult and rational